For kids, any time can be playtime. That's been true across the ages. Who is stronger? In the moment, the determination to win can become the challenge of a lifetime. Sumo is more than a sport. It's a martial art that relies on strength and technique, not weapons. Spirit, technique, and body. These essentials for a rikishi, a sumo wrestler, are much the same as those for samurai in years gone by. These days, the sumo wrestler who ranks higher than all others is Hakuho. He carries the title Yokozuna, Grand Champion. The distinction of Yokozuna is reserved for those very few rikishi who attain the highest level of the three essentials. Nicholas Pettas is out to discover how a Yokozuna achieves that balance of spirit, technique, and physique. He's no stranger to martial arts, having won the European Kyokushin Karate Championship and the K-1 Grand Prix. Now, he'll experience the samurai spirit in the raised ring of sumo.
Welcome to Samurai Spirit. I'm your host, Nicholas Pettas. In Japan, they know me as the Blue-Eyed Samurai. And standing here today in front of the National Sumo Arena, of course, today's program will be introducing you to sumo. Now, I've spent almost 20 years in Japan studying various martial arts, but the only one I haven't experienced yet is sumo. And I'm really excited to find out exactly what it's all about.
Like karate, sumo is a combat sport. The immediate objective is to achieve victory, but victory at the peak moment requires countless hours of preparation. Nicholas has managed to get permission to observe a training session at the stable to which the Yokozuna belongs.
I'll tell you what, it's really early in the morning here. And here we are at the Miyagi no Beya, which is the room, as they call it in Japanese, for where the last Yokozuna is here. And his name is Hakuho. And we're gonna go in and find out exactly how these guys train. And I'm really excited about this today, because this is a really special experience. Not everyone is allowed to get into these places. First you have to take off your shoes here. And then actually, dohyo will be located right in behind this door. From now on, we gotta be quiet. See that?
Every sumo wrestler has to belong to a stable. That's where he goes about the dirty work of polishing his performance over weeks, months, and years.
What they're doing right now, it's the basics of the sumo, to push the guy out of the ring. And it's a very technical thing. This is probably some of the hardest training for these guys. They go on and on and on.
Nicholas isn't content to be a mere observer. He asks the stable master, Miyagi no Oyakata, to allow him to train.
Are you tough enough? Does someone help him put on a belt?
and I've never worn that before, so I'm kind of apprehensive of what it's going to feel like. Another thing, when I had to ask the Oyakata if it was okay, I had started practicing with these guys. I was so nervous I couldn't even speak English. This is what it looks like. Check out my butt. I shouldn't be laughing here. This is kind of serious, but it feels really weird. Kind of embarrassing too, but I guess when everyone else is dressed like this is what you gotta do to learn sumo firsthand.
Lesson 1. The Shiko. It's a leg exercise unique to sumo, requiring flexibility, strength, and body balance. Sumo wrestlers practice the Shiko every day to develop their lower bodies and build up stamina. The process may seem mind-numbing, but repetition breeds progress. Eventually, the physique of a rikishi emerges.
He's just teaching me the basics of doing the Shiko. And I'll tell you what, we only did like 10 of them. My legs are shaking from it. It's so hard. How many repetitions do you do every day? They do about 200 or 300 of these every day. And that's why they got the bodies that they have. It's unbelievable. I'll go back and keep practicing.
Keeping a low center of gravity is fundamental to sumo. Tsuruyashi develops that by sliding the feet forward while grabbing the sand with the toes. In the ring, a rikishi is allowed to strike his opponent with the palm of the hand. This pillar serves as the practice partner. Kumagatani Oyakata is providing the instruction, the same man who mentors Yokozuna Hakuho. Seeing Nicholas's physique, the Oyakata warms to the task of coaching him. The others have moved on to Butsukari Geiko, an exhausting form of practice in which the attacking rikishi charges and pushes with all his might. Nicholas looks a bit hesitant. The pushing isn't completed until the partner is outside the ring. Sumo is reputed to be the oldest of Japan's martial arts. The current form developed some 500 years ago. The rikishi are unclad except for a mawashi loincloth made of cotton or silk. A rikishi wears his hair in a mage topknot until he retires. The dohyo sumo ring measures 4.55 meters across. Inside that compact space, the rikishi engage in fierce battles of skill, power, and strategy. The winner is whoever forces an opponent to touch the ground or step outside the ring. Sumo is organized into a strict hierarchy. Wrestlers at the level of Makushita and below are provided with everything they need for daily life, but no salary. 90% of all Rikishi fall in this category. Once a Rikishi reaches Judio, he gets paid. But competition stiffens as the pyramid narrows, and the pinnacle is almost unattainable. In its earliest form, sumo dates back about 1,500 years. In the 12th century, the grappling techniques were incorporated into the training of samurai as a form of mock battle. Then, in the 17th century, sumo became popular among the common folk. The role of the Kyokushin referee and other such occupations came about during this time. That's also when the ranking system developed. Yokozuna was the name given to the top spot. The weaving of the pure white rope symbolizing the Yokozuna is a collaborative effort by all the active Rikishi. It's a modified version of a sacred Shinto rope. The Yokozuna wears this during important ceremonies to purify both body and soul. Hakuho is the 69th Yokozuna in the history of sumo. At the moment, he is the only person to be ranked in the highest category. A strong body and mind aren't by themselves enough to make Yokozuna. Even an impressive ring record doesn't guarantee elevation. To become a Yokozuna, a Rikishi needs the unanimous vote of executives of the Japan Sumo Association. Shozo Ishibashi knows what it takes. As a former NHK Sumo announcer, he's seen countless wrestlers aspire to the distinction.
Above all, a Yokozuna represents strength, and people admire him for that. As the most powerful of all Rikishi, a Yokozuna enjoys tremendous respect. People are drawn to his strength, but he also has to have a certain charisma. Each Yokozuna has a dramatic presence of his own. The very next rank down, Ozeki, is for superior Rikishi. But that doesn't mean they necessarily have what it takes to reach all the way to the top. A Yokozuna is in a special class by itself.
Hakuho shows up for practice at the Miyagi-no-beya. Even a Yokozuna trains every day. The atmosphere changes in the presence of the Yokozuna. Training the young wrestlers to move up through the ranks is part of a Yokozuna's responsibility. Hakuho rises to the challenge. And now, He's watching over Nicholas, too.
Man, that's hard. Well, I can see I'm totally out of breath right now. It's like pushing a car or a brick wall or something like that. It sure was cold this morning, huh?
体が温まっていいと思いますよ。
Do you always eat alone? What about all the other rikishi?
まあみんな順番があるんで、私が食べ終わるまで食べないですね。は
Wow, it surely is a strict hierarchy.
い。だから私も入った時もそうだったし、だからその順番で食べるから、これ身があんまり入ってないんですよ。一番最後だから汁しかないんで、だからそのご飯にその汁かけて流すっていう。
その時は How much did you weigh when you first came here?
そうですね、15歳だったんで62キロです。
62 kilos? Wow, you must have been so skinny.
すごい細かったですね。
Hakuho was 15 when he came to Japan from Mongolia, knowing hardly a word of Japanese. Here's how he looked in his very first bout in March of 2002. Barely a whisper of the commanding champion he would turn out to be. The boy who weighed only 62 kilograms has been transformed into a man among men, a yokozuna.
You must eat a lot.
だからご飯ですね。
How much rice do you eat at every meal?
だから当時7、8回食べてましたからね。だから普通の入れ方じゃないんだね。もう先輩方みんないい風にそのいじめるっていうのかな。こいつ強くさせてあげたいっていうの。でも当時はやっぱ何くそと思ってましたけどね。で本当にそれがあったからやっぱ今があると思いますし。だからその量を今日来ました。残してもいいんで、はい、とりあえず。
No, I'll eat it. You see that? That's sumo style.
いや本当これぐらいなんですいつも私も。だからその一番最初部屋来た時あんまり稽古をさせてもらわないんですね。もう本当食べたばっかりで嫌われてんじゃないかなと思ってでそのうち大きくなったうちにね、もう日本語も上手くなってきてましたし、まだどんどん番付が上がってきましたね。
Yokozuna, I noticed when you came in after everyone else that you walk different from everyone else. There's such a big aura around you, and I could tell the way you stand and the way you move your body just sets you apart from everyone else.
私は思考を徹底してやりますね。やっぱりその強い膝を作るっていうね。筋トレもあまりやれないし、本当は基本だけでここまで来たっていうことですから、だからそういう意味で当たり前のことがやっぱりすごい大事だなっていうのを今つくづく思いますね。
The sumo stable is more than a venue for training. Most of the rikishi in the stable live under the same roof. After practice, they tend to various chores, sweeping the dohyo, preparing meals, cleaning, and washing. Rikishi at the rank of makushita or below don't have individual rooms. They share one communal space. The sumo stable is like one big family, with each member working hard to maximize his potential. Sumo wrestlers train relentlessly. They may appear to be fat, but on average, they have a body fat percentage of only 20%. And incredible strength. We asked Hakuho to help us get an idea of his physical ability. The project is being overseen by Professor Kagemoto Yuasa, an expert in biomechanics. He's studied many top athletes. The bout begins with the wrestlers charging at each other. What's the impact like?
Imagine being hit by someone weighing 150 kilograms. The impact is going to be phenomenal. Very little quantitative data exists about sumo wrestlers. Nevertheless, I did manage to find some information to compare to that of Hakuho. When Hakuho charges toward an opponent, the force of impact reaches 608 kilogram weight. Well, that kind of power is difficult to even comprehend. If someone were to experience that kind of force, say someone who weighed 60 kilograms, it would be like hitting concrete after jumping off of a 3-story building. Don't even think about trying it.
Professor Yuasa focused on the position of Hakuho's lower body. From the start of the charge to the point of impact, just 0.2 of a second elapses. During that time, Hakuho's hips have accelerated to a speed of 4 meters per second. That's the equivalent of the starting dash motion of a short-distance track sprinter. The force of impact of a typical rikishi is 300 kilograms weight, so Hakuho is twice as powerful.
We now have a clear idea of the tremendous impact Hakuho inflicts on his opponent.
飯食ってるから俺腰高いからねちょっと高いように見えるんでね膝がちょっと曲がってないっていうね
The Yokozuna says he could have done better. The next thing Professor Yuasa measures is the strength of Hakuho's lower body.
Rikishi who've gone up against Hakuho say they don't feel the force. Instead, they feel as if they've been rendered powerless. The data support that impression scientifically. This graph indicates Hakuho's upper body in motion. When an opposing rikishi charges against him, Hakuho arches back. This is the moment of impact. Notice Hakuho's hips. There's hardly any change in speed. In other words, his hips remain in position. When an opponent charges against Hakuho, the longer the contact, the weaker the force of impact. So, although the wrestler is charging, he feels he's weakening. As for Hakuho, drawing out the contact enables him to minimize the force of impact. The reason he can do this is because he's able to arch back without moving his hips. That's how strong his lower body is.
Comparing Hakuho's movements with that of a typical wrestler, the difference is obvious. It's all in the hips.
Hakuho is able to reduce the force of his opponent's impact while minimizing its effect. In other words, he's able to respond in an ideal manner.
Sumo has no weight divisions. Even so, it's not at all uncommon for a smaller man to take down a giant. Case in point, pint-sized Mai no Umi was up against Akebono, a huge wrestler who went on to become a Yokozuna. Akebono was 33 centimeters taller and 103 kilograms heavier. Toyonoshima is only 169 centimeters tall, but he's defeated tons of big guys on his way up to Sekiwake, just 2 ranks below Yokozuna.
Nice to meet you. My name is Nicholas Pettas.
It's nice to meet you too.
I'd like to ask you a few questions about your special techniques in the sumo here. Obviously, you're not very big. I mean, compared to the other sumo wrestlers that I've seen on the show. How do you feel when you have to go up against the real big guys?
I'm small, so at times I feel apprehensive. But I try to make use of my size to apply an attack from below.
So I understand that you have some certain special techniques that works only for you because you're smaller than the other wrestlers. Maybe today you could show us some of those techniques.
I use techniques and maneuvers to compensate for my lack of height. It's difficult to explain, so I'll show you.
Excuse me. What just happened here? You want to show us? Were you really trying? Oh, did you just step back? It looked like you just gave up on it. No?
I charged and hit him with my left side, like this, so that I could slip my arm underneath to upset his balance.
Well, what does that actually do?
Well, turning the upper arm renders the opponent powerless, like this.
Really? Could you please try that on me? From the same position, please.
I twist the arm, and you lose strength.
So I lose my balance here.
Yes.
Now I see it. Nice technique.
The opponent tried to seize Toyonoshima's belt with his right hand, but Toyonoshima twisted the wrestler's left arm outward to avoid the grip. At the same time, he lifted and upset the wrestler's balance, stripping the opponent's power. Arm twisting turns out to be an important technique.
What happened there? He threw you over.
Well, I upset his balance using the arm twisting technique. But he then attempted to correct his balance by pressing down.
I see. So he was trying to regain his balance.
Yes, he tried to press down, and I simply made use of that motion to throw him.
So, this had nothing to do with power.
Right. It's all about technique, making use of your opponent's strength.
So, within the sumo, when you feel the strength of the opponent, you also sometimes are able to reverse that strength and get opportunity out of it. Nice.
Nicholas is going to feel it himself. Nicholas lowers his stance and tries to grab Toyonoshima's belt. But Toyonoshima uses his left arm to upset Nicholas's balance and control him. He then pushes Nicholas out of the ring with very little effort.
That had nothing to do with sumo yet. I have a lot more to learn. Maybe we could try one more time. That was good. And I thought I had a good chance there. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for a very learning experience. Maybe we could explore a little bit more about what we talked about while we were over there practicing, called the Sumo Chigara.
As you just saw, I managed to control an opponent, to curb his strength, and this enabled me to overcome him without much effort. And this is what I think of as sumo jikara, or effective sumo.
So what is your opinion of the ultimate goal for a sumo wrestler being the yokozuna?
Well, I talked about curbing the opponent's strength, but when I attempt to do that to a yokozuna, I find myself on the receiving end of this approach. A yokozuna excels in everything. When I make eye contact with a yokozuna during a bout, he actually seems larger somehow. He seems larger than life, in fact. He has such an aura about him that I'm overpowered by his presence. I feel a pressure that is almost overwhelming.
The yokozuna wears a sacred rope and stands at the pinnacle of the sumo society. More than physique or technique, it's an undefinable spirit that sets him apart. We asked Hakuho stablemaster what that spirit is all about.
A yokozuna must fight an inner battle. No one is above him, so he has no one to inspire him. It's going to be a matter of how well he can control himself, and that's not easy. Spirit comes first. The three essential qualities are spirit, technique, and physique. In that order.
Strength of spirit and dignity are the qualities that define a yokozuna's character.
Strength isn't enough. A yokozuna has to be dignified and well-mannered and have a strong mind. He needs the spirit of a samurai. Strength may be enough to excel in other sports. A K-1, for example, is a combat sport that is fairly lenient as far as etiquette is concerned. But sumo is a martial art that emphasizes rituals and proper form. A yokozuna should be able to impress people not simply with his sumo, but with his entire being.
The 65th yokozuna, Takanohana, demonstrated the pride and spirit of a yokozuna in a bout in May of 2001. A win in this bout would clinch the tournament, but he suffered a major injury the day before. Everyone thought he'd have to pull out. But Takanohana had dedicated his whole life to sumo. He believes the true worth of a yokozuna is revealed in times of difficulty.
まともです。突き起こす貴乃花、回しを取った、上手を取った。しかし武蔵丸の太い右、気力で上手、やった貴乃花、この顔。
Despite his physical injury and the pain, Takanohana rose to the occasion and prevailed over both his opponent and the battle within himself.
貴乃花優勝、なんという結末、大変なことを起こしました。
He demonstrated the true spirit of sumo, highlighting the importance of modesty, perseverance, and spirit.
もう信じられないようなことを起こしました。
The great yokozuna of the past have always confronted difficulties head-on. The 69th yokozuna, Hakuho, now understands what that really means.
Yokozuna. What is a great yokozuna to you?
最高の横綱。だからやっぱり自分がやっぱり昇進したい今は思うんですけど、やっぱり横綱昇進して長く張った人っていうのがやっぱり最高の横綱じゃないかなと思うんでね。やっぱりこれが心技体揃わないとやっぱり続いていかないっていうのが事実ですね。はい、だからそういう意味で横綱は横綱ある続けるってことはやっぱり侍心っていうのはその心である続けることかな。今思うとそうじゃないかなと思うんですけど、ちょっと深いかもしれないけどね。それが侍心っていうのかな。はい。
The samurai risked their lives for their beliefs. That spirit is very much alive in the way of sumo. The fighter in Nicholas Pettas has come to realize this.
You know what just happened there? I mean, he's the yokozuna and everything, right? And you're supposed to go in and give it everything. But at the moment we put the hands down and went ready to go, I knew there was no way I could stand up against this guy. And he just came in and I felt myself pull back just by instinct. And I think this is what all the old sumo wrestlers are talking about. Once you stand in front of the yokozuna, you get just pulled into his power and his awesome aura and everything just gets sucked in, and he just almost handles you like a little child. That was just unbelievable.
制限時間いっぱいです。
The final day of the 2009 November Grand Tournament. If Hakuho wins this bout, he will claim the championship with no losses and establish a record of 86 wins in 1 year. His opponent is the Yokozuna Asashoryu, who retired 2 months after this bout.
頭をつけた。朝青龍先に体勢を作りました。右から起こす。まだ朝青龍有利。出し投げ。早く攻めたいのは朝青龍です。さあ朝青龍十分の形になっています。さあ引き付け合いか。上手が取れない白鵬。下手も離しました。起こそうという白鵬、上手を取った。右から返した。揺さぶりながら出ます。両回しを引きました。がっぷり。さあここからどうする。引きつけた。左腕一本で引きつけて、上手投げ裏返し。白鵬全勝優勝。
The strength of modesty, born of samurai spirit.
白鵬、しかし朝青龍も力を込めました。それにしても白鵬、完璧な強さです。完璧な1年を締めくくって。
Thank you for watching Samurai Spirit today. In today's program we showed you Sumo, which is basically a very different martial arts from all the martial arts that we have shown until now. The main reason being, of course, that Sumo is not something you can just pick up, go to play on the field like a soccer game or something like that, or go to the dojo and do some kiais with karate. No, Sumo is a whole life. The wrestlers here that we showed in the program all started when they were around 15 or 16. They joined the dojo, they live here, they dedicate their whole lives. Everything is made for one final goal, I would say, and that is to become the Yokozuna. Now the Yokozuna is the definitely ultimate representative of the Japanese heart and soul. He is the mascot of Japan. He is the mascot of the Sumo organization. And looking at him, you can only feel awe. When he walks in the room, it's a different aura. Everything changes. And it's not just because he's a big man. It's because he's a Yokozuna. The Yokozuna's key words are all honor, respect, humbleness, and dignity. And all these key words make up for a great person, representing the Japanese heart and soul. What I learned from this program was definitely something new, something that I could only try to make you understand by showing you exactly what I did through the program. It doesn't come in words, but it leaves me with this one feeling left, and that is, Sumo is samurai spirit. Now please come back next time, where the true search for the samurai spirit continues.